pirate metal, Viking metal, porno grind, Nintendo core, wizard metal. No, these aren't all various Dungeons and Dragons themes, but rather subgenres in metal. As the years have gone on, the obsession with classifying each metal band into a subcategory has grown exponentially, and with increasing anger over not labeling each metal band into a subgenre properly. It's become much more prevalent in heavy music now, as so many metalcore bands have grown like a virus to the point that metalcore is being subcategorized into metalcore adjacent groups. It's no longer about accepting a band for their content, but rather how they can be organized and what other bands they are compared to. You know how many record stores there are out there with the over-encompassing rock section? Every band is alphabetically organized, but you have to know what the band is before you find them. Subgenres, in theory, should help to better classify what a band's sound is so that listeners can easily find newer groups defined by a subgenre you enjoy. With the countless amounts of bands in rock and metal, it's a good theory to have subgenres, just like other major genres of music. The problem? Subgenres shouldn't be making people angry. At the start of the video, when I listed off specific subgenres, those were all real, and they better define a group than just saying rock or metal to someone who was already familiar with subgenres. But if I were to call a Viking metal band like Amon Amarth pirate metal, then Viking metal fans would threaten to pillage my land. That's a unique example, but keep in mind that subgenre mislabeling happens and it causes an extreme amount of anger for absolutely no reason other than not describing a favorite band the way a specific person wants them to. It's at the point now that there are websites that help you classify what subgenre a band belongs to now. This website is called Get Genre. You type in an artist, band, or album and it gives you the subgenre for it. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, I asked on the YouTube community tab to give me some bands to try out, and this is what you gave me. Korn, that's a good one to start with. Nu metal, okay, I mean, that really matches. How about System of a Down? Alternative metal. Honestly, I think that also matches. A lot of people say nu metal, a lot of people say other stuff. Alt metal sounds about right. Bring Me the Horizon. Metalcore. Yeah, that fits. Even to all the people very upset with the many different directions Bring Me the Horizon has taken over the last 5 years. Yeah, this is probably the best label to give it. Spirit Box. Metalcore again. Fair enough. And they branch away from that true traditional metalcore style every now and then, but yeah, metalcore at heart. It's gonna be a little bit more complicated now. Sleep Token. Really? I don't know about that. I don't know what else to put them in either. Complicated. One of my favorite bands, and I'm sure I know this is going with alt metal. Yeah, I called it alternative metal. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if System gets in there, Deftones should get in there as well. Let's think outside of the box a little bit. 21 Pilots. Alternative rock. There's gonna be a lot of people upset about that label for them. Sheryl Crow. Rock. Just rock, that's it. Man, oh man, when you think of a true rock star, the embodiment of all rock, you think Sheryl Crow. Let's go a little bit deeper now. Cake. Alternative rock. That's 90s alternative too, where anything was on the table. It's like the Wild West, no rules. Cake definitely fits for that. Mr. Wives. Indie pop. Also interesting. See, there's so many different ways it can go. Let's end with Ghost. Heavy metal. There is going to be so much butthurt from elitists when they see this label describing Ghost. I hope Papa puts a curse on all of them. Handy little website. It's fun to play around with and not meant to be taken too seriously, but it will be. Often unintentional, but there are also many elitists out there who demand subgenre acknowledgement to help verify a person's knowledge of a band and where every band should be in place. Anything to make themselves feel better for being the smartest metal fan. With so many subgenres out there, how can anyone possibly keep track of it all, let alone know how to shoehorn every band or artist into one neat label? Get Genre is not the only site out there to help. You'd be surprised at the efforts people put into this. What you're looking at now is Music Map. This is an impressive graph organized by time and placed out through distinctive music sections and how it all loops together. Industrial, alternative, hardcore, techno, rap, it's all there. And then you zoom in. It's when you zoom in that you realize just how deeply structural and at times overblown the many subgenres are listed. Just a few mouse wheel scrolls and you go deep into roots rock, thrash metal, noise rock, indie pop, post-hardcore, indie-tronica, electroclash. It's a lot. And as the decades go on, the more branches and intertwined everything becomes. I don't think anyone could list off all this and how everything connects, and if they tried, they might feel their brain melt. My point of this impressive map is to show just how many different variations there are within rock and metal alone. It's less of a scatter plot and more of a spider web. And keep in mind, it can get deeper than this. Music Map is a great look at music history and educates how subgenres can connect over time. Within rock and metal, listeners became obsessed though. True obsession with properly labeling each sound into the right distinction and backlash for a group being misclassified. Want an example? Think how many people get upset now when they put Avenged Sevenfold in metal or Coldplay in alternative rock. There are many examples of online outrage on social media, Reddit, YouTube comments, whatever you can think of. When people claim that a band isn't metal or punk or fill in the blank, sometimes these people will shout out Metallica isn't metal even when not asked or no one is talking about Metallica. A personal example was years ago when I was posting to a different site, which I used to do for several over the years. I did an album review for Cradle of Filth and referred to it as black metal. The backlash was not only instant in referring to Cradle of Filth as black metal, but that rage from viewers continued onto future videos I made in the comments saying I would not be forgiven for calling Cradle of Filth black metal. And I get black metal elitists are another level down from metal elitists, but the point about genre obsession is proven here. That elitist attitude of name 3 songs being shouted at a girl in a Metallica shirt is a trope now, but the other elitist attitude of listening to a band that isn't metal enough is somehow accepted by the public. If you say you like Lamb of God but you don't like Pig Destroyer, an elitist may not take you seriously because you don't listen to as much heavy music as another person does, or not as intense of something. Many fans obsess over this more than bands and musicians do by a long shot. It's not even close. Ask a musician what they play, and they'll tell you. Ask a diehard fanatic what a band plays, and you'll get 30 seconds of terminology and explanation you can't even comprehend. And then you'll get judged for not knowing said terminology. That's the issue with subgenres becoming such a problem when there are solutions to it. One of which being, if you don't know what an actual genre or subgenre of a band is, you can usually find out from the group themselves. They have socials, websites, their labels will say so, the band members themselves, but that's not enough for some fans. It was a couple years ago I said that a new metal hardcore industrial metalcore hybrid band was under the metalcore umbrella along with other subgenres, but the band replied back saying they were not metalcore. Fair enough. Even if I saw it as something, doesn't mean that's how the artist intended it, and that's another issue. Many arguments and so much anger over subgenre obsession comes from a subjective individual viewpoint. They may not even be accurate. I'm not a betting man, but I'm willing to bet that people have gotten into screaming matches over thinking a groove metal band is a thrash metal band. Hear how dumb that sounds? There are other issues that arise from obsessing over subgenres. For one, it can force newer or younger bands into playing into one subgenre only. You have to target an extremely specific audience, and you won't be taken seriously by a subgenre's fan base if you don't play that way. Another issue is that subgenre obsession is fuel for gatekeepers. Think how ugly gatekeeping gets when new people try to enjoy a band like Bring Me the Horizon, and then think about the gatekeeping when the late 2000s Bring Me the Horizon's fans get upset over people enjoying non-deathcore Bring Me the Horizon. Putting aside the gatekeepers and elitists, the big issue with obsessing over subgenres is that when you keep focusing on the subgenres and labels and categorization, you care less about the music itself. It's not about enjoying the music, it's about properly defining it with a label. I believe there are solutions to this. It's not an instant fix, but it can definitely help. The first solution was already addressed. If you want to know what a subgenre for a band is, look up the band or artist info and see how they describe themselves. The second solution, which is going to be much more difficult for some than others, is to not obsess over someone not properly categorizing a song or band to your definition. That is where so much hostility has come and why elitists and gatekeepers have become obnoxious, pushing away new fans to heavy music. I truly think that the dramatic reactions online and in person over misgenreing a band has become a personality trait for people. It goes back to the idea that some don't even enjoy the music as much as discovering bands within a walled-off subgenre. I understand that there are personality types who thrive on order, organization, etc. That does not give you license to treat others poorly for not labeling a grindcore album as deathcore and swearing a vendetta against them. That obsession with subgenres in metal is a reason why heavy music has become so less popular. Everything is so boxed in and rigid, and regulated that nothing can be enjoyed without proper classification by people on the internet demanding attention. Most of which said people don't even deserve attention in the first place. A website like Music Map is mesmerizing, engaging, and fantastic, great for educational purposes. It could even be sectioned deeper by people who really are into this. But when this becomes your way of being and thought to the point of becoming a gatekeeping elitist, then you've lost your grip on reality. It's not about the music or enjoying it anymore, it's just so you get attention for correcting people. I just think the obsession with subgenres is worse than heavy music. Even though there are other subgenres in hip-hop and country, it seems like rock and metal have the angriest fans demanding people recognize proper divisions. That's awful, and I think there are many guilty of this to some degree. Subgenres are supposed to be a good tool to use, but it's been used to separate and criticize in negative ways. Heavy music fans are guilty of that, and people on the internet. Okay, mostly people on the internet. Regardless, the obsession needs to lessen up, because the bands and musicians get hurt by this, and as a result, fewer people listen because Band X isn't fill-in-the-blank core.